Hi everyone. A couple people asked me how I'm creating my comic book documentation, so I thought I would just do a quick tutorial to show. The first thing I'm doing is I'm documenting using my iPhone or an iPad. I do that because it's in my pocket, it's easy and quick for me to do. The second thing that I'm doing is I'm using Prisma, a free app, to edit the look of my photographs. When you open up Prisma, down at the bottom, you can basically choose any of the photographs that you have on your iPhone and immediately apply different filters to them. I like to change it up and use different filters for each of mine. So that's kind of up to you. Most often, I use this one called Tears because I think it gives that comic book look. I'm then going to go ahead and save that to my camera roll. And then from my camera roll, I can either upload them to my drive using the Drive app. I can mail it, however you prefer to send your photographs to your computer. Once I'm on my computer, I'm going into PowerPoint. Now, often in PowerPoint, I like to first change the size of my window to make something that's going to fit better for my documentation. I do that by going to Page Setup, and I can change this to any size. I like to choose 11 by 17 because I can then save it as a PDF and print it in full color for really cheap at Staples. Now, I could bring my photographs in here and start to create my own template. Often what I'll do is simply type comic book template into Google and find a template that works for whatever kind of documentation I'm doing. By dragging that in, I have a template set up for me already that I could use to add my photographs on top of. If I pull up some photographs, I could be dragging each one of these in, and then what I do is I just sit and resize it to fit my template. That way I know that I already have an aesthetically pleasing layout. Part of this comic book template is simply the fact that it is very aesthetically pleasing. I could then add any kind of borders I'm wanting to help that effect. And then what I'm going to do is actually go in and just using my shapes, add different shapes on top. Now, I have a little bit older version of PowerPoint, so it gives me these different speech bubbles that I could then add on, and I could make this speech bubble white with a black outline. I could add a little bit of transparency so some of it shows through. Now, if you have the newest version of PowerPoint, they remove some of those callouts. So what I recommend doing is there's a teardrop shape that often looks really nice for some speech bubbles that I could use and extend that out. Or there's some tutorials on YouTube on how to create speech bubbles as well. Once I'm at that point, I'm just adding my different text on top of those speech bubbles and formatting it. Here is what I am wondering. And from there, I can use any kind of fonts that I would like. I downloaded a font that I really like for comic books, and that's called KG Lego House. I think it gives a lot of that comic book feel. A couple of the others that I really enjoy for comic book format. Headline. So there's Headline 1 and Headline 2. There's also Adventure is another one that's great for titles of comics. But I'm just going to continue adding in. different photographs, adding in different speech bubbles. Now, I prefer PowerPoint because it's much easier for me to save, easy for me to turn into a keynote, turn into a Google slide. One of my colleagues actually uses Comic Life, which I no longer have on my laptop, but that's how she's creating the same kind of effect. And they actually have all of the filters and speech bubbles in Comic Life as well. So I hope that helps, and let me know if you have any questions.